this time, she learned how to grow as an individual, found unknown resilience and strength, and now through her coaching teaches others to do the same.
Well, hello. Let me start off first by saying nothing that we go through is ever wasted. I'll repeat that again. Nothing that we go through is ever wasted. I am Sakina Bunch, certified integrative nutrition health coach and doctor of naturopathy with Clean Good Eats and holistic coaching with Sakina B. I am also a U.S. Army veteran, multi-best-selling author, and TEDx speaker. However, my world was flipped upside down at the untimely death of my mother and my husband. These are two people that I relied on most in my life. And now I was forced to navigate these uncharted waters of being a single mom, a sole proprietor of a once joint owned business, and now I had the new title of Gold Star Widow. During this time, I learned a lot. And what I learned, I employ with my clients. The goal of my time with my clients is really to help encourage them to understand that even through the toughest moments, the most grievous turning points of their life, healing is still possible. So I'll say it again, nothing that we go through is ever wasted. No relationship, no activity, no financial calamity, nothing is ever wasted. In a time span of about 10 years, I lost 12 key people in my life. And this was way before COVID. These trials, these momentary afflictions and hardships obviously are not moments that we would welcome. In fact, we'd rather not go through them. But they're there to sharpen us if we allow them to. They propel us on the springboard of life to intrinsically land exactly where we're supposed to land. Now, of course, most of us would simply choose not to go through these moments. But since they're there, we have to ask ourselves, how can we make the best of them? Well, I'll tell you how I did it. After losing my husband in a horrific bout with cancer, I had to seek professional counseling. There was no question about it. And yeah, there's no shame in seeking professional counseling from someone who specializes in grief. Also, I did it because I needed to focus on me. I needed to focus on my health, my well being, and my boundaries. So often, we don't have boundaries. We allow people to take and take until there is nothing left for us. Too often, we, especially we as women, we care for everyone else on the list, and we don't even make our own list. Did you hear what I just said? I said, we don't even make our own list. That is a crying shame. Now, we take care of the spouse, we take care of the kids, we even lose sleep at times taking care of the dog and the cat. I liken it to a cup and a saucer. We allow people to sip from our cup, and they sip until there is nothing left. People will take and leave us depleted. Now, we must learn, first of all, the boundary of saying no and how to fill our cup so that it is overflowing. When someone comes to take a sip, they're not going to be sipping from the cup, but they'll be sipping from the overflow onto the saucer. You see, by taking care of ourselves, we're doing what the airline attendants instruct us to do when the cabin loses pressure and the plane is going down. What do they say? They say, direct your attention here. Put on your own oxygen mask before you can assist anyone else in putting on theirs. That means before your children, your spouse, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your friends, before anyone, you must put on your own oxygen mask and you must seek to preserve your well being. So, right now, I just want you to do this with me. I want you to breathe in, hold it for a moment, and then breathe out. Breathing is freeing. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Now, you cannot give someone something that you don't have. Remember the cup scenario. There is no way you can help someone else preserve their life when your life is perishing. I mean, unless you're desiring to be an organ donor, but in most cases, in being an organ donor, you don't live to enjoy it. For me, preserving my sanity, my mind, even my finances, it made me a better friend, a better mother, and a better business owner. Now that I've learned these principles, I employ them in my sessions with my clients. Men and women all over the world, from Haiti to the Philippines to Grenada, Morocco, Canada, and many places in between, are using these principles to find the signs and symptoms of loss within their own lives. They are using these techniques to turn their tests into testimonies and hardships into happiness. The trauma that encompassed my life was not wasted. It made me a stronger person, a more spirited person for sure, and a more sure footed person. The measures applied in my healing, I use these to help my clients heal from the inside out. And so I'm going to share these 7 principles with you right now. Number 1, there is no cookie cutter grief. Grief comes in all shapes and sizes. We grieve over death, friendship loss, divorce, job loss, even financial calamities, and more. Why? Because it is all about the loss of a relationship, whether it is a relationship to a person, an animal, or money. It is still all grievous. Let no one minimize your level of grief. No two people grieve alike. In fact, one person can grieve many different ways depending on who passed and even how they passed. I know I went through a deep state of depression when my mother passed. In fact, when she passed, it was rather sudden. And so I didn't have time to prepare. Whereas my husband, when he passed, we were able to grieve him as he was still living. Therefore, when he passed, I felt more of a peace because he was no longer suffering. Take the time to feel the feels. Suppressing your feelings will only cause for implosion. I remember I had a child, my daughter actually. She was never really one to share her feelings. But when my mother passed, she still didn't share. And I was dealing with my own grief and couldn't really help her work through hers. Therefore, she was 3 when my mother passed. It manifested itself in her teen years, where she was just very angry and we couldn't figure out why. And it took counseling to understand that she never dealt with that grief. Number 2, no expiration date. There's no expiration date on grief. So if you're looking at your watch and you're waiting for a timeline, it's not going to happen. Take the time you need because there is no expiration date on the way that you feel. Feel it, own it, release it. You will have to do this multiple times. It's not a one-stop shop. I recently was the MC for a fundraising gala here where I live. My husband passed away 3 years ago. But as I am emceeing this event, I could see my husband sitting in the crowd. Now, of course, he wasn't physically there, but in my mind, I could see him sitting in the crowd. I got emotional. I held it in very well, but I didn't realize how something so simple as that could trigger, even after 3 years of counseling, of feeling my feels, and all of what I'm about to tell you. There's no expiration date on grief. Number 3, focus on something that brings you joy. Oftentimes, when we're grieving, we will sit and we will think about the thing that is causing us the grief. But in order to help the healing process, we must divert attention to something that does bring us joy. And don't feel guilty for immersing yourself in it. In the Bible, it states, idle hands are the devil's workshop. That means that when we're focusing on what's causing us grief only, and we are not doing anything outside of that, we can start thinking very bad thoughts, like what I did with my mom. You can either grow bitter or you can grow better. I've seen women lose loved ones and go off the deep end, migrating toward things like drugs, alcohol, and the like. But then I've also seen poised women who were reserved, and they know that sometimes the job at hand needs to get done, and we'll have to work through our grief at another time. I have a friend, and I really don't know how she does this, but it works for her. She schedules time to have her grief. That's right, she schedules her grieving sessions. She is a fast paced political figure, and she has a lot on her plate. So she schedules time each day to cry, to scream, to write, to just let it all out. Because remember, what we don't let out comes out in different ways. Number 4, talk. Talking is so important. Find those people who knew your loved one and have memories of a relationship with that loved one. They can sit and chat with you and bring back glorious memories. And that's actually very therapeutic. It helps you to remember the good times and helps you to get through those rough patches of loss. What we hold in has a tendency to manifest itself within our body through behaviors, sickness, and even mental health disparities. I remember when my mother passed, before my depression actually set in, I called someone and I said, "Hey, can you come over just for a moment so that we can talk about my mom? I really could use a friend right now." And that friend said, "Maybe later. I don't have the time right now." And that broke me because I really needed someone to talk to. Whereas when my husband passed, I knew the grief that I went through with my mom, and I reached out to a grieving mother who just lost her child. And we sat and we talked about her child, and she talked about my husband, and both of us had a therapeutic moment. It was wonderful and it was healing. Number 5, physical touch. Especially after my husband died, I had no idea how important physical touch is. Now, I'm not talking about physical touch in a sexual way. I'm talking about just a simple hug. Oh my goodness. I remember when my husband just passed, and there was a friend that came over to my house, and she was coming over to pull my weeds. And I'm thinking, "You're coming over to pull my weeds. My weeds do look kind of bad." But when she saw my face, after she asked me, was there anything else she could do for me? All she could do was just hug me, and she hugged me so tight. And I didn't realize how much I needed that. I cried and I melted in her arms. Physical touch is very important. Here's another one. Now, as a doctor of naturopathy, I put that hat on right now. Nutrition is very important. We don't realize how important nutrition is. In fact, we eat our feelings many times. We will reach for that sugar laden processed food because it's comfort food. But in actuality, our emotions and our physical bodies are going through trauma. Everything is intertwined. If your emotional stability is grieving, so is your brain, your heart, your liver, your kidneys. They are all in a grieving process. Don't abandon them. Your entire body is trying to heal from this trauma. Foods that are highly processed and sugar filled have a tendency to intensify the stress that you're feeling by increasing the inflammation that's in your body. Help your body heal. Eat real food, packed with nutrients, not in a package, to give your body the fuel it needs to get the job done. 7, get your sleep. Sleep is one of the most underrated remedies of healing. Time after time, we think our healing is only found through a prescription. Here is the most affordable and beneficial prescription around: sleep. Get your rest. Our bodies work on a circadian rhythm biological clock. And what that means is nearly every cell in our body contains a biological clock. We serve these cells best by allowing them to work while we rest. This allows the body to not be overstressed and to be able to concentrate on only one or two things instead of trying to maintain multiple tasks. I know they say women can multitask, but I am not good at that at all. Let me concentrate on one thing at a time, and you'll get a quality product out of me in the end. But if I have to concentrate on more than one thing at a time, nothing worthwhile is coming out of that, I assure you. Now, that was 7 principles, but I have one more for you. 7 is the number of completion. 8 is the number of new beginnings. So, my 8th and bonus principle is go outside. There is something to be said about going outside, especially if it's warm and the sun is shining. Allowing the light and the warmth to hit your face and touch your skin, taking in deep breaths, breathing. My goodness, breathing gives your body the opportunity to expel toxins. That breathing that we did earlier, just think about that. You are expelling toxins. Grief can increase toxins within your body. Breathe deeply to cause for release. And that sunshine is a natural mood enhancer. You might ask, well, how is that possible? Well, think about it. How do you feel when you are in a dark room for long periods of time? Do you feel happy or sad? Energized or lethargic? Allowing the sun to hit your skin, it sparks your body to begin the process of manufacturing vitamin D3. This is not a vitamin at all, but a hormone. That's right, vitamin D is a hormone, and it is known for its mood enhancing effects. So go outside, get that vitamin D, increase that mood. Grief doesn't have to be an end. It really can be a beginning. Now, I shared with you how my husband passed away from cancer. It was a very rare cancer, and it took 7 months from diagnosis to finish for him to pass away. But in the grief, we felt as a family something amazing come out of that. We were able to work through the stages of grief. Now, don't get me wrong, we're still working through them, but we are able to use it as a turning point. Now, we decided that our turning point was going to produce a legacy for my husband that would far surpass all of us. We have opened a cooking studio, which is where I'm standing right now, in honor to help educate others on how to eat better for longevity of life. We turned our bitter grief into a better life for us as a family and for the community in which we live. So the charge is now to you. The moments of hardships that you have faced in your life, and maybe even facing now, will they sour you or will they cause you to soar? Thank you.
Yeah, Sakina, thank you so much for the informative speech. I know how much you love your husband. So, yes, even though he's far away from you, but he's back of you in every moment you do. So definitely his blessings will be there. So I can feel that love in you for him. So so life should go on. Life should move on. So. Yes, so this is the question from our audience. So so what is the like primary theme of the turning point of your life?
Mm. The primary theme is that there's nothing that we go through that should ever be wasted. Everything that we go through, there's a purpose for it, whether it's something that's good or whether it's something that's not so good. If it's something that is not so good, we have to think about what is the lesson that we can learn from it. And I can honestly say, from my mother's passing and from my husband's passing, I learned a lot. I learned how to grieve and not allow it to take away from my family, take away from even my own mental health. There's a way of grieving that can do that, and I've done that. And then there's also a way where you can preserve your health in doing so.
Yes, definitely you are a strong woman, and you'll hope you'll have a very good success in your life. So keep moving, keep rocking all day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sakina, for the wonderful presentation with WIN conferences. So we need your continuous support, our future conferences as well. So this is a hybrid event. So if you want to join our live session, which is going in Paris, France, so just click on the Zoom link. So you can even give your beautiful conversation. So you can have a chat with the speakers. Okay, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
and have a wonderful day. And so this is Melinda Roy, and so let's so speaker is waiting. So let's join the another session. Thank you and bye bye.